Yes, Powdyel, welcome to this week, the World Happiness Week, celebrating happiness as a birthright, basically as that um, goal in many ways, but way of living that we've been talking about now for a number of years. So, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much indeed. Very fine. In fact, the great goodness of the world has been keeping me and my family, and of course, my countrymen and women, my king and the country, well and safe so far. And I hope you are keeping well as well. You've been very busy trying to make the world a better place and a happier place for all of us. Thank you so much indeed for what you've been doing for all of us and for our world, for humanity. This is a journey that has to continue, and you are at the head of it. I wish you all the very best as we go ahead.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so blessed, and I'm so happy that we can be on this journey together. And I've been learning so much from you over the years that I feel really empowered and motivated. Why don't we share a bit more with everybody, especially in the education space? What can we do from the angle of education in order to create a better world for everybody?
Oh, thank you so much. What a delight to speak about education. This is something that I feel extremely passionate about. I care for education. You may have heard me say it several times in the past that education for me is the noble sector. It is the noble sector. And perhaps in this day and age, people do not have either the inclination to look deeper into education or the time to spare to look at education in a way that we ought to look at it. Life is full of care. People have no time to stand and stare, as the great nature poet William Wordsworth would say. But at this stage in the life of our world and of humanity, I feel that it is important to restore education to its old, ancient, and eternal role as the noble sector. I feel that if we can look after education properly, if we can teach our young men and women, our children, our boys and girls, the way they deserve to be taught and educated, I feel we can certainly make the world a better place. Today, I believe that there is so much going on in the world in the name of education. However, not everything that happens in the name of education is education proper. That's why whenever I have a conversation with my fellow educators and teachers, fellow teachers, it has always been my appeal to them to look at education from the point of view of the noble sector. We have to restore that nobility into education. We have to change the language of discourse. I think today we talk about education in a very pedestrian way, highly reductionistic and narrow way. That is why I think education is losing that very important core, the important message. We're educating our young men and women for the employment market, for the corporations, for the factories. But we ought to educate our young people for life. We have to enable them to find greater fulfillment, greater flourishing. I think we need to restore love of life. We need to restore that old love of life, the old love of learning, and the old love of our dear Mother Earth. I think what is missing in education today is that capacity to love, that capacity to care, and the capacity to affirm. That's why a lot of people find learning to be extremely unfulfilling and even a waste of time. That is so very unfair and so wasteful. I think we care for our children, we care for our young men and women, we care for our societies, we care for Mother Earth, and we need to provide education. We need to create conditions for education to the making of a better world. We are not doing enough of that today. We need to bring back love. We need to bring back care. We need to bring back respect and honor to education, the noble sector.
Thank you so much for that insight and your wisdom, Dr. Powdyel. When you were a ministry, I think that a minister in the education sector, I mean, for Bhutan, you did so much that actually you leave a legacy. I remember I was there a few months ago with one of the expeditions, and we went to a remote school, beautiful, and we were talking to the teachers and the children. And one of our participants asked the teacher, "What do you teach?" And she said, "Well, kids are teaching us, and
Yes,
we listen to the kids." So how beautiful was that? And the way the teachers share was beautiful because she said, the kids are teaching us. We listen to them. Wow, that's love in action in many ways.
yes, indeed.
Can you tell us a bit more about the way you structure education in Bhutan?
As a matter of fact, we believe that all our systems, our institutions have at least two lives. One is the outer life, and the other is the inner life. Most of the time, we are bogged down in taking care of the outer life, our physical infrastructure, our facilities, the resources, which are very important, of course. However, our institutions also have an inner life, and the inner life is what animates and informs and guides that outer life. So, today, a lot of the planners feel that once they are able to put up very fine state of the art infrastructure, inject a lot of resources, and keep the facilities in order, their job is done. In fact, that is maybe their job. However, that is only part of the job. We need those facilities. We need those infrastructure. However, they have to be brought to life. They have to be animated. And how we animate those institutions is through the through the life of the people who come there, our children, our boys and girls, our young men and women, our teachers, our staff, our leaders. What do they bring to the institution? What do they bring to the system? They bring not only their physical bodies and their names and their identities, but they bring their dreams, they bring their values, they bring their principles, they bring their ideals, they bring their worldview and sense of what is right and wrong. They bring all these, and it is these intangibles, these values, these inner resources that actually give life to our institutions. So in Bhutan, we still are struggling with building the outer life, especially in some of the remote areas where it is difficult to reach resources in the quantity and scale that we want to. However, we all share a common purpose, a common vision. Our children, our teachers deeply care for this country, for our kings, for our people. We call this the Trinity, the triple gem, the country, the people, and the king. So these are very valuable, very precious for us. And how we envision our structures and how we instill values, bring in life into those institutions is a challenge. However, we believe that both these are very important. We have to bring in a balance between the outer and the inner life of our institutions. Just as indeed we have to nurture the outer life and the inner life of our institutions and of our children. We have to ensure that the health of the children, the physical growth of the children is important. But at the same time, their inner growth, their dreams, their hopes, their ideals, their sense of the world is important. And how do we ensure, how do we nurture, how do we enable the flourishing and the blossoming of this inner life is very important. It is not easy. Not everybody is, in fact, able to share this vision, but it's extremely important for curriculum builders, for practitioners of education to be deeply, deeply sensitive to the need to harmonize the outer and the inner life of our institutions, just as it is important for nation builders to try and harmonize the inner and the outer life of our societies and our nations for an integrated, holistic, and sustainable development of our societies and nations, and thereby of the world.
If there is one place where you can really understand the inner world, is definitely Bhutan. It is one of those places where, even from the energy point of view, the moment you land, you feel in a different space. So I think that something that really enhances the possibility of going into the inner being is the location, is the space, is the attitude of the leaders and the way that you feel welcome. However, in the world today, we are seeing that role models are polarizing the society, are becoming very strong in their positions with no much flexibility, and they are critics in a really wild and actually disruptive and embarrassing way in many ways of other people and other leaders. And we see this in politics, and we see this in many other ways. So these are becoming role models as well for our children when they look at these people who are polarizing the world, who are, with no mercy, sending soldiers to kill other people. So what can we do in order to create new role models, and in order to stop somehow having these people, so cruel people, doing this type of things around the world?
It is indeed extremely sad and tragic that there is so much of posturing around the world, posturing by powerful individuals, posturing by powerful nations, and creating a lot of disharmony, chaos, confusion, and uncertainty in the world. This world, this Mother Earth, our dear planet Earth, deserves better leaders, good leaders, sensitive leaders, humane leaders, people who do not have to display their aggressiveness, their antagonistic postures, but people who can heal the world, who can unite the people, who can take care of our ailing planet Earth. Unfortunately, there are so many individuals who do not believe that there are other people who share this earth. There are other nations which also are part of this big united world of humanity. So as we look to the future and as we guide our children, as we guide our children, as we bring them along, it is only fair, it is only fair, it is only right, it is only just that we provide examples. They may be very rare in the world, but in our curriculum, it is important to enshrine those examples of people, and there indeed are examples. I think for every villain in the world, there are 1,000 heroes, and we have to identify these heroes and heroines, the healing figures of the world, the harmonizing principle of the world, the unifying principle of the world. I think there are many examples like these. The unfortunate thing is that it is these dramatic examples, the dramatic, these blustering individuals who carry the day, who are more prominent in front of the children, either through the social media or the mainstream media, the mass media, the advertising industry that caters to these aggressive and highly ambitious individuals. But what we perhaps need to identify is look for those individuals, identify those individuals who, in their very quiet ways, in their very peaceful ways, in different corners of the world, are making a difference. Because at the end of the day, the good has to win, and the good will win. The spirit of positive energy is greater than the spirit of negative energy. Even though temporarily, in the short term, the bad energies might seem to be winning. However, the basic principle of the world is positive. The basic energy of the world is creative. And I think we need to identify, we need to rediscover, and we need to present these positive energy bearing examples of individuals to the children. It is only right, it is only fair, it is only just that our children, who will be our leaders later, receive examples or see examples of good human beings who also become good leaders. I see a difference between great leaders and good leaders. All good leaders are great leaders, but not all great leaders are good leaders. I think it's important for children to be good so that they are naturally great. I think it's a question of conception of justice, conception of what is good and what is bad. What do we call success? So I think the good and the positive and the pure must have a place in the general scheme of the world.
I always remember when I asked you, I think it was last year, if there was only one subject to teach at school, which one would you choose? And you told me poetry. Have you changed your mind, or you still think that is poetry, the one thing that could really change people's life?
I think, the world needs poetry today even more. Poetry has got to do with harmony, it's got to do with unity, it's got to do with a balance. So poetry is the music of the world. Poetry is the symphony of Mother Nature. There's poetry in Mother Nature. There's poetry in the air, poetry in the streams, in the rivers, in the oceans, in the mountains, in the breeze, in the trees, on the hills, on the plains, in our life. There's poetry all over. It's just that we only identify the prose of life. And the way we look at life, whether we look at it poetically or prosaically, makes a difference. I remember an old Mother Goose rhyme. It says, two men looked out of the prison bars. Two men looked out of the prison bars. One saw the mud, the other saw the stars. One saw the mud, the other saw the stars. So I feel it's important to see how much music there is in the universe, in nature, in our life. There are so many beautiful, harmonizing, unifying ideas all around us. And nature is the best teacher. Nature is the home of poetry. Today, we human beings feel that we are the masters of nature. We edit nature. We distort nature. We exploit nature. We materialize nature. Whereas we should be able to discover the spirituality, the spirit of nature, the deep core of unity and harmony, coherence, accord, not discord, that is at the heart of nature. So I would still believe that poetry, not in the narrow academic sense as a part of the curriculum, but poetry in the sense of that great unifying power, the great unifying principle of life that we derive from the unifying power of Mother Nature. What happens when there's a storm, when there's a storm, when there's a tsunami, when there's a volcano? This is a disruption of the inherent poetry of Mother Nature, the inherent harmony, the inherent unity of Mother Nature. Somewhere there is an interference with the natural poetry of Mother Nature, with the natural poetry of planet Earth. That's why that manifests itself in the form of a volcano, in the form of a storm, in the form of a tsunami or a windstorm, a tornado. So I think we human beings have done a lot of disturbing the poetry, the unity, the harmony that is so abundantly available. That is so abundantly available all around us. If we look at life from the harmony principle, from the humanizing principle, from this principle of symphony, not cacophony, I think the world can become that much more beautiful, that much better. So for me, poetry is the harmony principle. It's the music principle, the unity principle of life and of Mother Nature. And if all the leaders of the world looked at one haiku, one sonnet, one lyric, one piece of music, a little bit of literature, a little bit of poetry, their life, their outlook, and their actions would be different.
Wow. So inspiring. So I have one last question. What are you gonna be doing on International Day of Happiness? How do you celebrate happiness yourself?
I think I have to, in the first place, pay my tributes to my great king, His Majesty Dugyalpo Jigme Singye Wangchuk, who gave to Bhutan and the Bhutanese, and who gave to the world and to humanity this great vision of holistic development called gross national happiness. Today, a lot of people around the world owe it to His Majesty, Bhutan's King of Destiny, for this great vision of sustainable holistic development. So the first primary act on March the 20th, as indeed on every other day that I carry out, would be to pay my tribute to our great fourth, His Majesty Jigme Singye Wangchuk, who envisioned the great ideal of gross national happiness, Bhutan's North Star, and of course reflect on how we are doing as a nation and how the world is looking at Bhutan as a kind of a rare oasis of peace and harmony under the leadership of our great people's king, beloved Jimmy Namgyal Wangchuk, Dugyalpo V. And of course, praying for peace and happiness, not only for Bhutan and the Bhutanese, but for the world and the people of the world and all sentient beings who share this world with us. So it will be a day of prayer. It will be a day of reflection. It will be a day of thanksgiving. And I wish all the people of the world, I wish you, my dear brother and friend, Dr. Louis Gallardo, and all our fellow pilgrims, much happiness, good health, and well-being, not only on the day of the International Day of Happiness, but all along. Tashidile.
Tashidalek.
Yes.
Tashidalek. It's always inspiring. It's always amazing talking to you. So be happiness. Happiness be with us. You are the hope for world happiness. You know that, T.S. Powdyel. You know that. We are so inspired by you always. Thank you so much.
Likewise, thank you so much for being there, for keeping the light burning bright. I think the world needs you and the vision, the World Happiness Foundation, the World Happiness Week, and every single moment of our life. Thank you so much again for the light that you're showing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
See you very soon in April.
Yes, indeed. I'm looking forward to meeting you again.
Yes.
Great.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.